Welcome to Art of Wellness
with Sama and Naomi.
That's good. A long time no see. That's such a lie. I see you every day.
Yeah, every minute of every day.
Every minute of every day. It's great.
It's perfect.
Wow. So we just had a heated episode and we deleted it because today is just a heavy day. Today is a day of a lot of heat. We had a lot of drama like yesterday
Dog
because
drama.
dog drama, human drama. Um the thing with when you live in Tulum, when you live in such a concentrated area, which Tulum is, and I think we need an episode about the tales of Tulum.
We will do that at some point.
Yeah, because it's a very interesting place. But when you have such a concentrated small town as Tulum, where there's such an influx of different minority and people and seeking and people
And things
and things,
and
um,
escapism.
yeah, a lot of things happen. And because we live in Mexico, which is kind of the wild, wild west of the world, there's not really any support system or any.
Even rules, truly.
There's not really rules that is established in a way where, as in America, you can just sue to the left and to right, and there's always an insurance company there to help you with whatever problem. Here in Tulum and in Mexico, or Tulum, we can talk about experiences in Tulum. There's not much help to come and get. You're on your own.
And it requires some human to human communication and figuring things out and problem resolution.
Yeah, you
based
really.
on individual values, which complicates things for sure.
Yeah, you get a tough skin here. Because here in Tulum, there is a lot of healing, and it's beautiful that so many people from all over the world is coming here and asking um, essential questions about life and themselves. There's plant medicine and meditation and sound bath and cacao ceremonies, and there's like everything for the heart and the soul and the ground and the mind. But there is also murder and drug cartels and killing and shooting and overdosing and fentanyl in some of this plant medicine, and it's a concentration of learning to know to take responsibility for yourself, or else you should go home to your little safe cage.
Because you will end up very hurt more than anything if
Yeah,
you don't take responsibility and care for yourself.
for sure.
And also just the environment here makes people really dramatic because it's hard and then something happens and there's no
It is hard.
support and place to turn and people become very
It's
volatile
chaotic.
and dramatic.
Very, and because some people get stuck here, because I am in the belief that it's not a good place to live. And I don't think the Mayan people even lived here. I don't think anyone lived here before some, I don't know, even white person started to like move in as we usually do and colonize the place and kind of build up this construct of a city that is lacking so much infrastructure and regulations and understanding for the greater good. And here we are with construction to left and right. We have police that bribes us if, and in my case, my hair say a lot. So
She ducks when we pass the police. So
yeah, if the police
blonde.
see us, I'm like, whoop, because my hair is a red light. So, and we have had cases, many cases where they stopped us and you pay them and they leave you alone. But you're on your own here. So you gotta learn some things there. You gotta learn to first of all take responsibility for yourself. The problems that happens in daily life as car problems, rent problems, financial problems,
Health
insurance
problems.
problems, health problems. You're on your own, and you got to be creative, and you got to create your own system. And if that doesn't happen, I think Tulum will swallow you whole and spit you out, and you will probably be on an airplane back to your city where you came from, where everything is convenient and will be delivered to your door whenever you need it.
Yeah, or you pick up the things that you need here, you heal the things that you need here, you learn the things that you need here,
And then you leave.
and then you leave and start your life.
Yeah, because Tulum is kind of like the place where you constantly is in confrontation with yourself. So
Yeah.
you will be reflected constantly and mirrored constantly by your external environment. And at some point, you just got to be like, I don't want to heal anymore. I really just want to go to France and eat oysters and have a baby and
And
like
create my own systems within a place that is at least naturally thriving
exactly.
or inviting
Yeah.
humans in.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of the
Vibe.
details of Tulum. But we were talking. I mean, at this point, I don't want to really cheer for Tulum. I don't think it's the best place to come for anybody right now because Tulum is kind of in a very intense transition. And coming here can be harsh and traumatizing, and it's expensive also. It's not really Mexico in that sense.
Yeah, it's triggering on a lot of levels.
It is true.
It's like spiritually, emotionally, financially,
Mentally. Yeah.
It's very triggering. So
you will hear us probably trash talk a lot about Tulum because we want to get out. We are on our way out.
That's the state we're in right now.
Yeah, everybody in the town knows. If they meet us on the town, we'll be like, "Oh, I'm so done with Tulum." That's kind of our mantra here. Isn't it true?
Yeah, and yes, that's very true. Everybody knows that we're done. And we're also, and it's the vibes that we give off. And we're also grateful for, I am grateful for the things that I received here.
Me too.
For you.
I'm grateful for you too, and Sansa, our dog.
Sansa, and our amazing clients that we have practiced here with.
Yeah, and the opportunity that kind of sprouted out of this place.
Yeah.
And the possibilities in the future that came from meeting people around here and meeting like-minded people who also desire to live in a world that is more sustainable to our inner environment.
Yeah.
But it's not Tulum we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious. I think that means a lot to you. It means a lot to me. And I think it's something that a lot of people is talking about in general on social media right now. I even see it in reality shows, which I'm a big fan of. We already know that. There's a lot of people, even in reality shows now. I saw Love is Blind the other day from the UK, where this girl is publicly saying that she's suffering from endometriosis. And in her publicity of it, she is stating it in a way where she kind of identifies it as it's a chronic symptom, a chronic disease, and this is what she have, and she have to live with this because that's what she's been told by the doctors.
Yeah.
And this is how it is. And I am really sad to see that autoimmune diseases is being approached the way it's being approached today. And I would like a more nuanced picture on that, or have a talk at least about it, because I know you have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about autoimmunity. I do think it's a very mystery condition. All autoimmune conditions are somewhat mysterious in Western medicine. Western medicine is good at certain things, but autoimmune conditions is not one of them. The way that Western medicine approaches autoimmune disease, sees autoimmune disease and treats autoimmune disease is really wrong, I think.
Yeah,
just
let's
simple
just
as
say
that.
it's wrong.
It's wrong and it doesn't work. That's why it's wrong. And in our perspective and how we treat it, in my personal perspective and how I've treated my own autoimmune symptoms and clients' autoimmune symptoms and patients' autoimmune symptoms, is effective and curable. I would go as far as to say that. But we have to understand where they're coming from, understand the whole picture, not just what's going on inside of the body, but what's going on outside of the body, where those things are, what those patterns are rooted in.
Yeah.
And addressing that in order for our body to respond differently to itself.
For sure.
Because our body's not created to attack itself. That's a lie. People who tell you, if you have an autoimmune condition, if you've ever experienced any autoimmune symptoms, and somebody tells you that your body is just attacking itself and that's the end of the conversation, your body was not created to attack itself. Your body does not want to hurt itself. Nobody's body and nothing is created to self-destruct.
No, not in the way the self-destruction comes with creation. So there's a purpose of the of
Yeah.
that destruction. But in this case, I would say that that's just not true. And also, just to like mention before we go deeper into it, and they call it mystery in illness, right? We see it as, oh, this is, where did it come from? And we're like so indoctrinated, and I think so far away from our own body and our own system, that when we get sick, we don't automatically have a thought pattern of thinking, oh, I am sick because this happened in my life or because I lived like this. No, sickness is just something that comes in and out of our body. That's just a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I'm sick, I gotta go to the doctor, because that's a part of like human life. But sickness and illnesses and mystery illnesses is not really a part of human life. We're not born to be sick organisms. An organism gets sick or have mystery illnesses or symptoms when our environment and how we live our life doesn't resonate with how we were created.
Yeah, how we
You
were
know?
intended to live.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easy to think that way because we kind of put all illnesses under the same umbrella,
Yeah.
especially from a Western medicine perspective. And yeah, there are illnesses where we get a virus, you take your supplements and drink a lot of water and have a lot of vitamin
Go through
C
that.
and rest and just wait for your body to respond and take care of it and
Yeah.
let go. And that's kind of what illnesses were for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right? Like when it comes to historically for the most of humanity, illnesses were that.
Yeah.
It was like something came in, you needed to get that thing out and release it, and then it was gone. And it wasn't a part of your body that was being attacked. It was your body responding to an external pathogen that
Yeah.
needed to be removed from your body or integrated in some way. And now the rise of chronic illnesses that just, like you said, this girl who's
It's
like,
just
I
accepted.
just have endometriosis, meaning like
It's a part of our identity now.
my body is just, this is how my body is. I have PCOS. This is just how my body is. I have Hashimoto's. This is just how my body is. My body attacks my own thyroid. And we just live with that and take medicine and whatever we're told to do, but
yeah, and adapt our life to that, our lifestyle to that,
to the illness,
Yeah.
rather than adapting our lifestyle to curing the illness, or
illness.
bringing ourselves back to our natural state where our body isn't attacking our thyroid because it wasn't intended to.
Yeah.
So because our environment has changed, because the way we relate to each other has changed so dramatically in a short period of time when it comes to like the scale of time of humanity in general,
Yeah.
the way that our bodies respond to that and become inflamed, and the way our immune systems work have also changed. And that's why we see this massive rise in autoimmune conditions and chronic inflammatory conditions and just chronic conditions in general. And it's not that mysterious.
I don't think it's mysterious
when you kind of zoom out and look, because it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. The way we live, it's just like kind of tragical, comical in some way, but the way we live and then the way we connect the dots is kind of funny because, as you say, if we just took an objective look at our lifestyle nowadays and how we have constructed this whole society and adapted ourselves to it, every single part of that society and that construct and that framework is kind of making us sick. So it's not such a mysterious when 90% of the produce in the supermarkets are poisonous. It's not so strange when we are breathing in all kind of toxins. It's not so strange when we are most of the day, 9 to 5, is using our time and our life and something we don't really want to but have to because we need to survive. Women also, how we have lived, it's not so mysterious that the female body at this point starts to react to how it have been forced to live for so many decades. It's not such a mystery.
No.
It makes perfect sense. At some point, the organism will start to rebel against that. And that creates that friction of illness and sickness.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's a rebellious. I think a rebellion of our system. I don't think our bodies want to rebel,
of course not,
against anything. They want to adapt. They want to like make it possible. Okay, you're going to choose this environment to live in. I will do everything I can in order to be there for you in terms of living in this environment.
Yeah.
And when we're unwilling to look at that and just say this is how it is, and it is how it is for most people. So I'm just normal if I have a laundry list of symptoms that I don't know where they're coming from or fully understand myself.
Yeah.
And so does everybody else. So it's normal. All my friends, all my parents, my whatever, it's normal. Like, it's just how it is. And it's just how it is because we're all living in these types of environments.
Yeah.
That's why it is how it is.
Yeah.
And just because everybody else has these symptoms does not make it normal for your body to experience constant pain, emotional dysregulation, inflammation, weight gain, like unheard of or unexpected weight gain, inability to get through your day, energy fluctuations, sexual dysfunctions, all of these things, infertility. It's not normal.
No, it's not normal. But when you start to ask those questions, because I had family members that has been sick and also had these autoimmune diseases, and I've asked, but why does this happen? Because they can explain to me the cure for this in a medical way, but then I'm asking, but why does this happen? There is a reason why your body starts to get sick. Your body don't just choose to be sick. It's not normal. And most people can't answer the why. And that's, I think, what we want to talk about today, and just connect some of the dots, because I think that this is a very interesting topic of, and autoimmune is a spectrum, right? It's not just this, what we're going to talk about today, but this is definitely an introduction to how it started, the attack, because of the lack or the wall or whatever we have built in that space of boundaries around us, have invited a lot of things in and also have rejected a lot of things to come in. And here we are in this like boundary delusion of not really understanding ourselves and our system, because we have made ourselves malleable in that.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to hear, because I know you are really, you're good on this topic. So how come boundaries and autoimmune diseases be connected? Why is that connected?
So first of all, like, we can all agree that human beings at this point in our culture are very confused about boundaries. I think it's one of our weakest interpersonal skills.
I think so too.
And
it's not really about, sorry to interrupt, but it's not really about the no, right? It's not, because a lot of trends on Instagram is like, you need to say no, you need to learn to stand up for yourself.
It's a no, and all of this stuff.
It's, I want to, and I know you will do it here, take it physically, because boundaries is a very physical thing.
Yeah. So
it's a body experience.
Like, there's obviously like something going on with our boundary systems in society. We're walking around in disconnection. Then when we do connect, it's like from a place of like absolutes and like, you can have all of me and unconditional love and straight to sex and all of these things.
Extreme dependency,
codependency, extreme avoidance. Like, we're connecting with each other, not from a place of our boundaries, but mostly from a place of a lack thereof or of a wounding of those boundaries.
Yeah.
And before we talk about even like the effects that has physically on our body, I just want to discuss, like, or we can go into that later actually, of why that's happening. But our boundaries on a physical level are controlled by our lung system. And when I say lung system, I'm talking about Chinese medicine here. And I'm not speaking about specifically only the physiological organ of the lungs, which is a part of that lung system, but also the energetic components of that system.
The breathing in, the breathing out, the skin, the pores, like the whole
energetics. The whole energetics. So our skin is controlled by our lungs. It is the external orifice of our lungs, I would say. And our respiratory system is obviously connected to our lungs. And when we look at our skin is that physical boundary between our external world and our internal world. It's literally what separates those two things. Our breath is our first intake of the external world. We literally breathe in the external world, process it through our lungs, and release parts of it. So we experience our external world and reject some of it selectively through that and through those energetics of the lungs. The lungs are also responsible for our immunity naturally, because our immune system is responsible for protecting us against the pathogenic materials of our external world. When we take in our external world and selectively reject some of it, that is a healthy expression of our lungs. That boundary system, when it comes to our immune system and our interpersonal boundary system, is meant to be in its healthiest form a very strong, very fast response. Our body innately, without us thinking, without us being like, is this a F yes or is this an F no, when we breathe in a bacteria, our bodies we don't think about that.
We can't respond so fast.
Or we shouldn't. No. We shouldn't have to think about that. Our bodies should be able to immediately respond in their healthiest form and be like, this is an invasion, this is a no, and innately close off the doors or attack if it's at the point where the attack needs to be done. So it can be like a sneeze on a release of that pathogenic material, or if it's already entered our bodies, our body responds and attacks. And when we get colds or flus or contract viruses or bacteria, our body responds, if it's healthy, pretty quickly. And usually those symptoms are respiratory. We get a stuffy nose. We can get like a skin rash, like eczema or something like that, which is already kind of an autoimmune condition.
I would say, yeah.
But if we get like poison on our skin responds. I just got stung by a jellyfish. My skin responded immediately to release and inflame and extract that. We can get a sore throat, coughing, so on and so forth, to a fever, to kind of kill off and push all of that out from the surface of our body and not let it go deeper and attack our organ systems. That's the point. That's our lung system. It's superficial and it's really good at being like, yes, no, open the gate, close the gate. And it should do that very, very quickly, because we have grown up in a world where we don't practice the interpersonal boundary systems. And we are taught, I think, we're taught to not have them.
I think we are.
And we're taught to not have them because we're born without interpersonal boundaries. We're born to completely surrender to the people around us and expect to be taken care of and trust those people because we have to. Because if we didn't have that in our physiology and in our psychology from birth, we wouldn't survive. If you were born not trusting your parents, you wouldn't survive. But we're put from birth into situations where we have to, where we end up trusting people and situations that we shouldn't trust, and it really messes up that boundary system on a subconscious level, where then it
becomes loose. I think
it becomes weak.
Because if we take it on that, just to like mention, within our 6-month life, we have, because many babies is being delivered in institutions within 6 months, we already have a huge boundary cross here where the baby is being separated from its main caretaker, its mom, and have to then relate to other adult that it doesn't know and other children that it doesn't know. And within that whole constellation, which we will talk more about at some point, the first boundary is crossed.
Yeah, I would say even before that, so many babies are delivered by C-section.
That's true. That's a huge boundary cross.
A huge boundary crossing where the baby isn't given the opportunity to move through the birth canal,
which helps and supports and forms a lot of nerve ends, because that kind of entry into the world is important for the baby. Its shapes, its forms, its fascia, it's just its whole being and soul complex is being shaped through that entrance. It's the entrance from the soul realm in some way into the real world.
Yeah, it is that's that energetic passageway, and it preps that movement through the birth canal, preps the lungs for that first breath.
Yeah.
That first breath of air that a human being takes and takes in the world and starts to cry is disrupted in the percentage of babies born at this point through C-section, and the C-sections that are encouraged and in some cases needed, but in many cases encouraged and not needed and chosen, even sometimes
voluntarily
is a massive breaking of the boundaries of the mother, and the mother child like entity is what that is in that moment. And then, like you said, in the first 6 months of life, the like pulling babies apart away from their mothers.
Yeah, and even before that, also all the invasive vaccines that goes in and disrupt the whole immune system and kind of recreate it and reshape it. And from a very early age, a baby have to kind of resist that or accept that and put it into, even I would say, a genetic informative level to their system where they adapt to these pathogens for these vaccines that is being pulled into them. And that within itself is a super intense process for a baby to have all these decoded entities coming in and had to like shape and form their own system in order to not get sick from that, or in order to protect itself, or in order to absorb it, in order to survive.
Yeah. And I think this is actually a whole nother topic
for sure
that we will definitely talk about and record, because it's such a deep topic to talk about, because in that moment that human's immune system isn't fully formed and it's being bombarded with things that it needs to deal with directly into their bloodstream, which is just impossible for that baby to not start to take those toxins and pathogens and entities, like you said, sometimes living genetic information past their blood-brain barrier, which is not fully formed, and into their life. And that's a topic in and of itself that we will get into.
For sure.
But
it's just to paint a picture that within, I mean, months of our life, we have already had so many boundary crossing that at this point, 30 years old, it's not so surprising that we ended up here.
Yeah. And the other thing is that children develop their boundary system when they're toddlers.
Exactly.
Like the terrible twos, when children start saying no and being like strong and throwing temper tantrums and being hard and fast about their boundaries. And it's at that point, they're not allowed to say no, like no leads to punishments.
Yeah.
And we're not conscious yet at that point. We're developing our belief systems and our social patterns in that moment. And shortly after that, after those no's are punished and our tantrums are punished and our emotional release in our expression of our boundaries are diminished and told that we're wrong for them, we're also very shortly after that, in most cases, pulled away from our secure attachments and placed into
multiple attachments to strangers
and to other
toddlers,
kids, and
to also have an undeveloped system. So we're relating to insecurity within ourselves and in others.
Natural insecurity from already a dysregulated system for so many reasons, and a boundary system that was never allowed to be formed.
Yeah.
And that like developmental pattern topic of boundary systems is an episode in and of itself. But
yeah, let's get a little deeper into
it's the reason why then, and in our adulthood and even in our teenage years, when we should have had those secure attachments and space to set clear boundaries and have an innate ability to set clear boundaries, as we should in a healthy person have an innate ability to protect ourselves from pathogens, we don't. And then we live our life practicing those loose, as you said, unhealthy boundaries or lack of boundaries.
Yeah.
And we live constantly especially women, because of societal norms for hundreds of years.
Yeah, because of the patriarchy also.
Yeah,
it's just
these norms.
Yeah, it's the norms of that.
Of women, and we see the rise of autoimmune conditions disproportionately in women. But the expectation that women should say yes, the expectation that women should not put themselves first. If a woman is putting herself first, she's self-centered, she's selfish, she's all of these things. She's ego, she's whatever, all of these things. And the expectation to women that there should be someone in front of them always, whether they're single or they're a mother or they're a wife or they're a partner, there should always be somebody else that's more important to them that they're looking out for before themselves.
Yeah.
And that is a massive boundary crossing. That's like living within a system that's inside of your body where you're constantly crossing your own boundaries.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that from an energetic perspective.
Yeah.
When you have this lung system, that's the immune system and the energetic boundary system interpersonally is the same system. And your energetics are trying to shut that door and innately work. And you're constantly pushing them open and holding them open and holding those doors open, and they're trying to shut. At some point, that creates weakness within that fast response.
Yeah.
And that weakness is created in the entirety of that system. So our immune systems actually become weakened. Our boundary systems interpersonally become naturally weakened to the point where they don't know how to respond differently. When our immune systems become weakened, our immune systems stop to exist so superficially to our bodies where that pathogen is just entering, and goes deeper in out of support for ourselves to protect our internal organs and our vitality and our vital organs from attack, to keep us healthy, to keep us alive at that point. It's not even to keep us healthy, it's to keep us alive.
Yeah, it's a survival instinct.
It's a survival instinct.
Super healthy.
And we should thank our bodies for that, because our immune system is doing the right thing. And the problem that actually occurs if that happens over time, consistently and chronically, and we go through that year after year, decade after decade, is eventually the level of pathogenic material that we live in, which is also extraordinarily high. We just talked about what we inject into infants, but the amount of drugs, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, chemicals in food,
pesticides,
toxins, heavy metals,
EMF,
everything from the air we breathe to the soil our food grows into, the food we buy in our grocery stores, to the clothes most of us wear on our bodies.
It's all an attack.
The makeup, everything is highly pathogenic, to even like the types of bacteria that exist now because of the antibiotic use in hospitals and the
overuse, I would call it.
And the types of viruses and all of these things that exist, that many of which are artificially created by human manipulation. That's what it is. Human manipulation of our natural world.
Yeah.
When that immune system goes deeper, you are letting in a lot of pathogenic material in your body, and that immune system is deep and it's weakened. And so what does our body do in order to keep us alive? It stores things. And it pushes things aside, and it puts things in corners, and it puts them in boxes. Tension.
It creates, as you say, depots of all kind of things within our body because it's smart, and it's saving us.
It's creating latency of pathogenic material.
Exactly.
It puts it in our joints. It diverges our energy into all kinds of different places, creates stored fat around our midsections.
Take a lot of space within too, so our organs start to touch each other, and we're starting to tilt in our structural, postural, or just our internal whole structural within. And it's a whole collapse of a lot of things.
It is.
That reshape itself into that pathogen until it can't live like that anymore. And
we adapt and adapt, and we create all of these special little places to store all of these special little things that should have not been in our body in the first place. And then eventually those little places and storage facilities overflow.
Yes.
And they overflow into our primary systems, and our body starts to attack them, because at that point, that is the survival mechanism, and they're embedded in the tissues. And when you're being told that your immune system is attacking your body, which is never what your immune system is going to do. Your immune system is never going to attack your clean tissue in your thyroid. Never. That's not, our immune systems were not created for that. That would be a really weird altered design of a human. Your immune system is attacking pathogenic material that has now overflown and embedded itself into your thyroid that your body wasn't storing, and your body starts to attack the tissue, because to get to that embedded long-term chronic pathogenic overload, it needs to attack the tissue.
Your body is trying to save you
constantly,
and your body is trying to let you know that it's trying to save you, and it needs your attention, awareness, and consciousness in order to help it with the right tools, the right diet, the right lifestyle, in order to support its process of getting that toxic load out of your body. And most of us stop here because we get to know that this is what our body do, it attacks us, and then we get prescribed pills, or we just identify with the sickness and we
get prescribed pills at the same time.
And we let down our body that is being like, hello, trying to communicate, trying to create a language with you, but on the other end there is nobody to communicate with, and here we are being consumed by our own body's brilliant, loving way of trying to wake you up to its innate intelligence.
Exactly that. And the craziest part is, and this is crazy. I'm going to tell you something crazy right now. We just talked about how weakened your immune system gets and its response. And then we're being told that actually your immune system's overactive. It's overactive, and that's why it's attacking you.
Yeah.
And then the drugs that you're prescribed are immunosuppressants to suppress your body's innate ability even more, when it's just your face is just numb. You're like, so everybody go watch the video, because that face just said it all.
Oh my god.
It is truly like the most backwards response that we as human minds can come up with, because we just go straight to that. We're like, let's suppress it even more, because now it's attacking us, and that's bad. Hi.
Yeah, that's intense. It is. That's really intense. And I would say we think that we're the most developed humans, and we look back at our past generations as cavemen, but I'm daring to say here that we are the cavemen.
We're dumb. It's dumb. That's a really dumb move. If we as researchers and medical practitioners, and we spend years, decades killing ourselves in university, destroying our lives to become so smart, to then sit in front of a sick person who's like, I don't know what's going on with me, tell them for decades that there's nothing going on with them because you can't see anything in their blood tests, and then eventually be like, it's your immune system, it's attacking you. We gotta kill that thing. That's the end result. Please. I could cry. I'm ashamed.
Yeah, it's very sad, and it's sad from like these. Now I'm just taking the women, but I know there's also some men struggling with it, but I know most of them is women. And it's sad because they, as we just talked about in the beginning, these women start to not adapt their life to heal, but adapt their life to the disease. And here we are becoming more diseased.
Yeah. And then kind of like promoting the adaptations of the disease.
Yeah, it's like nowadays
Endo
it's
warriors.
a hashtag, Yeah, and she said that.
Endo warriors.
Out there for all my endo warriors, and it's becoming like almost how to say that, an organization of promoting this as victims. We are victims to this sickness rather than actually promote healing around the sickness, because the sickness is so inevitable. How do you say that?
Inevitable.
No, it's not inevitable.
It's the opposite of inevitable.
What is the opposite of the inevitable?
It's curable. I mean,
it's curable.
It's avoidable.
That's the word.
That's what you were looking for.
It's avoidable. These diseases, there's no reason for them to be here.
And it's also, if we look back at each and every one of the lives of people who have any autoimmune conditions. I mean, I can speak for myself. I was diagnosed with Lyme, with mold toxicity, with heavy metal toxicity, with like just a list at one point of like, this is all of the histamine imbalance, all of the things that are wrong with you, and take like this amount of supplements that cut out every food possible, strawberries, plums, the random foods on top of the normal foods that you cut out, all of the random foods, and live like that until it's gone, but it might never be gone. And the thing is that if you just stop before you go there, before you go and read the blood work, before you go and like just listen to the person's symptoms and ask about where they're coming from, it's so clear that their pathway to this moment is inevitable.
Yeah.
And you just reverse that thing and then go all the way back and are like, this is it. Let's just like talk about this thing.
Yeah.
Make you understand what's actually happening in your body.
Yeah.
And then you will vary, because now you're a conscious adult human being, be able to help yourself.
Yeah. Which, like, in the short run is more expensive and seem overwhelming, because health practitioners that has a holistic approach to this is more expensive in the moment, but their journey is shorter, so you don't have to invest in medication and doctor visits and all of these things for the rest of your life. You just have to go through this period, this specific period, until you locate. And usually, as you say, it's really easy to, we do it with our clients, to see, okay, when did this eczema started, or when did this symptom started. And based on their lives and their feelings and their experiences and how they lived their life. We had a very hard working woman not so long ago, and after she figured that out and saw that, she was like, that makes total sense. I completely understand why I ended up with fibroids on my ovaries, and just like losing a fallopian tube, and just like ended up here because I fully abused myself, and I was celebrated in abusing myself. Mm-hmm. And then when I came to the doctors needed to help me, as she said,
they cut out her fallopian tube.
And she's like, so I'm this much poor, and that's just sad.
Yeah. And I think that,
but it's clear.
It's clear. And I think that the thing that's holding many people back who are experiencing symptoms is the shift in mindset, and like the ability to actually surrender to the concept that it, at the end of the day, you are not a victim to your
body.
Whatever like series of symptoms have been named. You're not diseased. You do not have any syndrome.
You're not a minority that is like
and
endo warrior.
Yeah, you are responsible for opening your mouth, first of all, and mind up to the fact that the only thing that you should be is healthy, and you have that right, and it's your natural born right to be that way, and you can become that if you're willing to do the work. And and that's the thing that I think is, and trust your body, and trust that your body is not attacking you. Trust that your body wants to be healthy with you and wants to support you in your health, and let go of all of the other BS that has been poured over you and taught to you.
Yeah.
And be willing to make those changes, because a lot of those changes are subconscious. A lot of those changes are coming from, childhood patterning, but that doesn't mean that you are a victim to that patterning and now you should be sick.
No.
The thing about humans, the thing that separates us from a lot of different animals, is our ability for consciousness. And we are so focused on like creating our reality with consciousness and manifesting with consciousness. But when we get sick, we don't use that consciousness for what it's intended for.
No.
Which is taking the subconscious state up and choosing what we're going to live with and what we're not going to live with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it is a jungle. because you can also meet people, and I don't want to go into this, but I also want to like emphasize that it is a jungle to like start this healing naturally, because it's hard to find holistic practitioners out there who fully understand and have taken their time to get educated with the body system and know how to help them, because sometimes people do use natural remedies in order to heal these conditions, and is also being let down because they're just being fed a lot of homeopathio medicine and a specific protocol, and a protocol that they're using to each person. And I think that just to give an advice out there to somebody who is struggling with an autoimmune system, the most important thing, and how to be critical with these practitioners, doctors, what whoever it is you are with out there, these people need to ask about you. They need to ask about your journey, about your life, about your experiences, about your trauma, about your lifestyle, about your diet. Because what I need is very, and we say this every time, but what I need is very different to what you need, because our body structure and our body type is completely different on all levels. So it's just important when you go out there and really have the desire to heal this, to be critical and find practitioners that is really holistic and really personal and really willing to listen to your whole life from the beginning to the end. And that takes time. We spend a lot of time with people. We spend a lot of time in the clinic listening to people, to every detail, to every experience, to figure out where did this happen? When did this start? Why did this start? And I think that's like the key to really supporting each other in the process of removing autoimmune disease from this world again, because it's avoidable and we shouldn't have it, and we should get and find the right help to fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point that you make, because there are a lot of natural practitioners and like naturopaths especially who like send clients out to get a bunch of blood work, for example, and spend really enormous amount of money on blood work, because blood work can get really expensive when you start testing the things that actually show things.
Yeah.
And they look at that blood work and then they make decisions about that person's healing based on that blood work, for example. And a lot of naturopaths do this. A lot of natural practitioners do this because it's less time consuming, and it's also seems more clinical. And we do have these clinical mindsets because we try to still adapt to the Western world and like remain professional and clinical and in some ways. But I just also, that takes away from the presence of sitting with a client. And those blood tests are also just such a snapshot
of the whole
of the life.
Yeah.
It's just one moment in time when that blood was being drawn, what your body was expressing, and whether that blood was being, and people are doing now, like, it's so trendy. One of our clients was like, should I do a GI test? Should I do this test? Should I do that? There's so many different stool
Shout
tests.
out to you. We love you.
Yeah, we love you and you're the best. But so many different testings and so many different things to test and so many available biohacking tests.
Avoidance strategies, I would say, because as you, sorry if I interrupted you, but this is also about intuition, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is about intuition, but it's also just to paint the picture of like, that test is showing you how you feel on what your body's expressing on that day. So if you're taking it in the summer during your menstrual phase or during your ovulatory phase,
in the season of the heart,
in the season of the heart, it's going to show you something very different than it's going to show you in the dead of winter when you're in your luteal phase. Like, it's just so, there's so many, or even the time of day, like taking a blood test in the morning versus in the evening. And there's so much, we need to see the whole picture.
Yeah.
And that requires presence and asking. And you need to learn, and that's what you were just saying about intuition. The point of healing all of these things, the method to healing all of these things, is coming back to that innate
body language,
innate feeling.
Yeah, innate feeling, I would say.
And your body's innate response, and coming back to allowing your body to have that innate response, and it not hurting you in that innate response.
Yeah.
And that's not drawing 13 vials of blood from your veins.
No.
Or pooping into a cup and having somebody else tell you what to do and giving you 1,000 supplements to take that they, when they see these markers, give to their clients.
Yeah. We need more quality here, and we need a more holistic approach to the person and a more individual approach, because we're not the same. We are innate the same, because on a very root level, I would say most of the people we treat that comes in have the same kind of construction within and disconnection, because most of these people don't have a connection to their root and is not grounded within their natural state of being, because that's just how we are. We were taking out of our nature and put into a concrete nature and a digital nature. But we are like individual, very different on how we have gone on with our life and what we eat and what we do and what we think, and those thoughts and those actions and those intakes are really important.
Yeah, and the energetic offshoots that we build.
Exactly, the divergent channels of it.
Yeah, where we divert our energy and the way we divert our energy and where we store those pathogens are different based on our makeups.
For sure.
Based on our blueprints and based on our experiences.
For sure.
And our wounding. So yeah, in a healthy form, we're very similar.
We are.
When we're natural and we're good, we're meant to be much more alike.
We are. I think so too, which would be amazing if we could get to that point. But this was like a good take on boundaries, because I see a lot of people on social media, but also a lot of spiritual practices in general, where people are learning to set boundaries by communicating what they want and what they don't want. And I get that. But that's kind of like the advanced stage of practicing boundaries. There is a whole physical state first, where there needs to be a definition of your own energetical system and understanding if you are have opened up this space and it's just leaking in and out, or if you have like many men, for example, is completely contracted in this space because they're so protected and have been told that emotions and crying and all of these are weak. So as open women are and receptive and kind of just accepting of everything and letting in and out, men is like in the other end, very protective and very closed off and very tense within their body. And we see many men come in that haven't cried for years and they're struggling as much. The consequences is just happening, I would say, in a much later stage in their life.
Yeah, and
when they become a little older and in different ways, which, I mean,
a very clear representation, just to like speak into the men, for example. And there are men who do have very similar patterns as women and do suffer from autoimmune conditions.
For sure.
We're not saying that that doesn't exist, but a very common thing that men develop is, for example, because of this avoidance and holding and tension, is hernias.
Yeah.
Like that's super common at young ages.
Erectile
erectile dysfunction, hernias. Hernias are a really good example because it's this like misplaced tension and just like drop of energy, and it's happening at very young ages in men.
Yeah.
Where it shouldn't be happening at all. If you're a healthy person, you should not be developing hernias. That's not a symptom of health.
No, I think one of our clients had also a cyst on their liver, which is also like the governor of emotions and cleaning out our blood. And if you're a man or just generally a person that doesn't release your emotions or talk about them or even like approach them, there will be a buildup of that toxin within the organ that is cleaning it out because it can't keep up.
Yeah, and the liver is a vital organ. We talked a lot about the lungs today, but we'll
talk about the liver at another time.
But just to comment on it, the liver is responsible for processing all of the pathogens once they're in that depth of the body. So all of your organ systems, that's what I want to say, we spoke a lot about the lungs, and we don't want to disconnect a certain organ system from the rest of the body. Every single one of your organ systems ends up being affected
for sure
by these types of patterns.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
And all of them can be resolved.
They can.
At a certain stage.
Yeah.
And with a certain mindset.
Yeah. And I just want to like round it up with our lungs, because those poor, like as an organ, that's also the holder of sadness and grief. And that part of us, a very vulnerable part of us. So if we constantly, or our body constantly feel that it's in a state of either needing to protect or open up, or is in this overworking state as it is when everything is so toxic around us and inside of us, this vulnerable part of us that makes us feel deeper parts of us and give access to the deeper part of us doesn't really get into play, because we're constantly in this fight and flight with our external world and our internal world, and we lack that vulnerability.
Yeah.
So the more we heal, I think, this health aspect of ourselves, the more we can connect to a deeper aspect of us that creates that vulnerability within our society that I think most of us are longing for, that gives us the opportunity to connect in a vulnerable way, where I'm not connecting with you from a sick way or a protective way or a fight and flight way, but I'm literally here with my open lungs, breathing you in and just feeling you as you're feeling me.
Yeah. And feeling safe enough, in doing that, knowing that our bodies will be able to shut that gate if that is necessary.
Yeah.
Being open to everyone unless it's necessary, and trusting our bodies are capable of that.
Yeah.
And B, it's trusting or allowing enough healing to happen in our organ systems that, for example, our lungs that we can actually access to process or feel the sadness and grief within our bodies.
Yeah.
Because our lungs aren't too busy playing this other role.
Yeah.
Like, our organs have multiple roles, and we're really forcing them to stay in line with one thing and overworking them in one direction, and not giving the space to process or to feel or to live.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a beautiful point. And I think it's important to remember in these autoimmune conditions that it's important to heal in order to be able to connect with yourself and the external world, and find more purpose and vitality in your life and your path, because you didn't come here to suffer and to
pop pills
and surrender to mystery illness. It's not such a mystery. It's very clear. There's nothing wrong with you. Your body is just asking for your attention, and if you give it the right attention, you will be able to heal this within a very short period of time. The faster you get to it, the faster it will go away. The more we identify with this and have it for decades, the more we shut down our natural intelligence of the body and surrender it to this chemical synthetic process, which eventually will make it very hard for us to get out of it. So please, immediately when you figure out this, try to see if you can find holistic practitioners out there who really know about what they're talking about. We offer free consultations, so you're welcome to reach out for any questions you might have, or struggles you might have, or autoimmune conditions you might have struggling with or still struggling with. This is something we work with a lot of women with different autoimmune diseases, and most of these women live and thrive and is alive, is vibrating through the cities and the nature and just in the world right now. And I'm so proud of these women who takes, also proud of you for the journey you took, because it really taught me a lot about taking care of my body and checking in with my innate intelligence instead of just letting things happen. I'm really proud of these women who takes that stand and take back their power over their own body that the patriarchy is trying to own and take and abuse and rape, and has been a property for so many decades. And now it's just time for like women and us ourselves to take that back.
Yeah, and take those symptoms as a gift.
It's a gift.
The symptoms, take that diagnosis or the lack of diagnosis and the confusion, and knowing that you don't feel good. Trust your body and take it as a gift that your body is speaking to you, that you're not going numb, that you haven't built up walls that make you so tough and strong and numb that you can't feel the difference.
Exactly.
And eventually get so sick suddenly or have a heart attack and just be taken from this earth. Take these symptoms as a gift to start that process and start that journey, because that is truly, in this crazy world that we live in, this place that your soul has chosen to come into, that is a gift.
It is.
And you wouldn't have be born into this version of reality in this crazy toxic world with these types of human connections if you did not have the ability and level of consciousness and strength and accessibility to create that pathway out.
Yeah, that's kind of why we came, right? Yeah, every disease, most of diseases, I would say, not every disease, but most of the diseases we should in some way embrace, because it's a way of our body, that it is our body that is communicating with us.
Yeah.
Not all diseases out there. I know that there is people out there who is suffering from real mystery illnesses and this whatever, but there is, most people, there is a cure for.
Yeah, just listen. That's
Just
what I'm
listen.
saying. Just listen to your body.
Yeah.
And thank it for speaking to you and do something about it.
Yeah.
And if you need help, ask us. We're happy to guide you and support you in the direction of doing something about it and taking action in a different way than most other practitioners will guide you in.
Yes. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, just to stay present with what is. So this was a very interesting conversation where we connected boundaries with autoimmune disease, and this is just one layer of it, and we will be talking much more into this. But if you're out there, check in with yourself. Is this alive for you? There's many autoimmune diseases that you can kind of point out with what we just explained, and it makes sense why you have it. Like, we had one with eczema, with just literally the skin of the body that is trying to signal something. But yeah, thank you for having this talk, and thank you for listening. We are looking forward for the next one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.